Harry Baldock here, editor at Total Telecom. The submarine cable industry is an exciting place to be right now, with numerous new systems being announced in the past month alone. Data demand soaring, leading to a flurry of activity all over the world. But which markets are the most exciting? Today I'm joined by Sean Bergin, president and co-founder of APTelecom, to help answer this question and discuss some of the latest trends we're seeing in the subsea space. Sean, thanks for joining me.
Hello, good to speak to you, Harry. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. As I say, let's start with a little discussion of how the industry is changing at the moment. Are there any specific trends in the EMEA region that are catching your attention right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the EMEA region is changing massively at the moment. I mean, we're seeing a lot of investment in Africa, in particular at the moment, with cable systems like To Africa, Africa One, even Peace. So the impact that has on the landscape of the GCC region, Asia and Europe will be quite interesting to watch. I think one of the big challenges has always been how to connect Africa effectively, and I doubt without the hyperscalers that these projects would be going ahead. So I think it's a massive shift. I think it's a huge change, and it's great for places like Oman and Djibouti, who have been establishing themselves over the last sort of five years or so as emerging hubs within the GCC region. So from my perspective, it's an exciting time for EMEA. There's no investment of this magnitude going on in any other continent like it is in Africa. So I think EMEA is just set to benefit massively from this. As long as issues such as geopolitics and ICT regulations can be managed, I think that it's a fantastic time for those in the GCC region.
As you say, there's definitely massive investment being made in Africa at the moment. How do you see this changing the industry in the long term?
Well, I think it's forcing folks to rethink consortium models to start with. So, traditionally you'd have a consortia, there may be, 10, 17 players in the consortia, some, very small, some very large. But I think cutting it down to these models where we have, a hyperscaler or even two hyperscalers involved and less partners in general. If you look at a model like To Africa, as point in case, the decision-making processes will be quicker. You won't have 3-day O&M meetings and 17 people fighting for their own agendas. I think the process will be a lot smoother. It'll be commercially more viable because of the buying power of the hyperscalers. So I think the systems will become more cost effective. So in that context, I think everybody wins.
You've mentioned already that Africa obviously is growing enormously, and Asia is as well. How is this going to impact the Middle East as a region? There's
some new cables obviously facing Asia from the Middle East as a consequence of Africa starting to boom. Again, you've got like Sing cable out of India. You've got Peace. You've got a whole bunch of systems that are being announced to get over to Singapore, for example, from the Middle East. And the decisions they're having to make, of course, is it Djibouti? Is it Oman? Is it UAE? Where Jeddah? Where's the best place to depart from or interconnect from, or even Egypt? So I think that the opportunity right now is in the data center space for those countries that are those hubs or emerging hubs to solidify their positions and really take up that mantle of avoiding this whole CLS to CLS type cable system and move much more into a pop-to-pop environment, enable cross connectivity. And I think one of the key challenges that needs to be addressed, particularly in the GCC region, is the simplification and commercialization of the cross-connect type arrangements that have historically been quite challenging. And I think if they can get down to fiber pair cross-connect charges instead of 100 gig, 10 gig cross-connect charges, I think this will just continue to grow.
With so much going on in the EMEA region, what's your view on the latest high fiber count systems?
They're a challenge. they're a big challenge. It's great the technology supports it, whether high fiber pair count as well as cards with high capacity cards. But the challenge is in a high fiber count system that in the old days, when I say the old days, I mean 5 years ago. If you bought a fiber pair on an entire submarine cable system, you were like a pretty big deal. You had a seat at the table. But these days, if you're looking at a 12 pair, 16 pair system, and you've got a fiber pair, you're not really such a big deal like you were in the old days. So I think it's just another leapfrog of the technology improving, and it's having commercial impacts in terms of how the consortia are actually structured. So if you're only buying one fiber pair on a 16 fiber pair system, maybe you don't have as much say as you would have had in the past. You're literally just a buyer of a fiber pair. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge. And of course, you've got the build cost economics behind that. So high fiber count, as long as you can monetize those fiber pairs at the fiber pair level, it's a really, really cost competitive way to build a cable system. And I think, everyone ultimately benefits from that.
You mentioned there that 5 years ago is the old days, but of course, APTelecom's been around for well over a decade now. In terms of with going forward, what's the future evolution of the company going to look like?
Well, we've evolved a fair bit, just like the industry has, I suppose, over the last decade in particular. So we've been around 11 years now, 12 years now. So, we traditionally just literally started out doing pre-sales as a consultancy model, and that's evolved a fair bit due to the fact we simply have a looking glass into the future by the nature of the work we do. So we know what's coming down the pipe in 2, 3, 4 years' time. So we tend to do a lot more straight up and down consulting these days. Not the technical side of it, but absolutely in the commercial space. So we're doing a lot more traditional consulting on business plan development, commercials, price book development, that sort of thing.
That's super interesting, and it's such an interesting time for the region and the whole of the industry. Sean, thank you very much for your time today. It's been great speaking to you.
No problems. Thank you for having me.